On July 5, 2021, members of the Bakery, Confectionery, Tobacco Workers, and Grain Millers International Union Local 218 went on strike at a Frito-Lay factory in Topeka, Kansas over issues of low pay, mandatory overtime, and long hours.
The company says, "We're shocked they went on strike." How are you shocked? Did you think that we would go to 90 hours before we would hit the streets?
And this person is Mark McCarter, a 59-year-old employee who has worked at the Topeka Frito-Lay factory for 37 years. And in a Vice.com article, Mark claims that he was forced to work 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. After 37 years, I still get forced to work 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I told the company I don't want to work 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, but they're still having me do it sometimes. Wait, so they make him work 7 days a week all the time? Or they make him do it sometimes? Get your story straight, Mark. Anyway, that Vice article doesn't tell you that Mark McCarter is a union steward, so part of his job during a strike is to paint Frito-Lay as a terrible employer. And that in turn generates sympathy from the public for their poor employees and outrage towards the mean old company. This is a tactic that you've seen on my channel before, and if you missed them, there's a playlist in the description. Anyway, Anthony Shelton, the president of BCTGM, also made this claim about his members being overworked. In a statement, he wrote, "Current employees are being forced to work 7 days a week, up to 12 hours per shift." Now, when you, the viewer, see that statement, are you thinking that he means all of their employees? Some of their employees? Clearly, there is a lack of nuance, and it's by design. Because news outlets like the Washington Post and CBS News will type up headlines complete with the union's talking points, whether or not 84-hour work weeks are a real issue.
Imagine being an employee in here that has not had a day off for 5 months. That is the reality of what you're seeing. That is the reality of why you're really seeing the picket over here.
But is it reality? Well, not according to Frito-Lay. In a press release, Frito-Lay states, "We believe claims about work hours at the Topeka facility have been grossly exaggerated. Out of 850 employees in Topeka, only 20, approximately 2%, averaged over 60 hours a week." So to be accurate, 2.35% of the employees at the Topeka plant average over 60 hours a week. So does that mean that 20 employees are being forced to work 84 hours a week? Apparently, that's not true either. Frito-Lay states, "Our records indicate 19 employees worked 84 hours in a given work week in 2021, with 16 of those as a result of employees volunteering for overtime, and only 3 being required to work." First, if you have the wherewithal to voluntarily work 12 hours a day for a total of 84 hours a week, you deserve a round of applause. And according to an online posting from a Frito-Lay warehouse employee, anything over 8 hours in a day is overtime, so you don't have to hit 40 hours to get your overtime money. 6th day is time and a half, and 7th day is double time. So if true, the people working 84 hours a week are making bank. As for the 3 employees total that were required to work, they probably had to make up shifts for calling out sick, taking days off, things like that. But regardless, it's a far cry from the union's misleading language. Another issue that the union supposedly has with the company is the amount of overtime that employees are required to work. According to the Vice article, many of the 850 workers at the facility say they work 84 hours a week with no days off, which we know is a lie. Workers are nominally forced to work 8-hour shifts, but because of shortages, workers are often forced to add on an extra 4 hours before or after their shifts. And a likely reason for these shortages is because Kansans are still able to accept federal unemployment benefits of $300 a week until September, which is of course on top of state unemployment benefits. And according to the governor of Kansas, in mid-July, there were 51,000 job openings. But unions aren't allowed to criticize Democrat policies that create more problems than they solve, so instead they blame Frito-Lay. BCTGM President Anthony Shelton claims, The union has repeatedly asked the company to hire more workers. And yet, despite record profits, Frito-Lay management has refused this request. Then please explain the massive number of job listings that were posted before the strike was called. These job listings even offered sign-in bonuses months before the union called the strike. So this isn't a he said, she said thing. Here, the union is clearly lying. So the question is, can you trust the union over Frito-Lay? Nope. No, you cannot. Next, in the Vice article, union steward Mark McMaster is quoted as saying the following: "We're hoping we can get these people back to work with a decent wage and some kind of alternative to all this forced overtime. Honestly, I don't know how what they're doing is legal." Well, first, Mark, employees already seem to make a decent wage. According to Frito-Lay, hourly wages at the Topeka plant range from $18.35 an hour to $36.91 per hour. And even on the low end, $18.35 an hour in Kansas is pretty good, right? Or was that whole fight for 15 thing a bunch of BS? And as far as forced overtime goes, yes, Mark, it's very legal. Employers always make it clear upon hiring that overtime is a possibility and may happen on short notice. And remember that a full-time job is at least 40 hours a week. There is no maximum. Now, as far as the Frito-Lay factory goes, according to this video by More Perfect Union, you can opt out of forced overtime, but you'll be penalized for it and lose points. And of course, they don't bother to put it in context and explain to viewers how this point system works, because it just sounds more terrible that way, and that's fine.
The point system is used to fire people.
We're getting penalized for taking time off.
Yes, when you take unscheduled days off, when you call out sick too many times, when you're late for work, you get penalized, just like most jobs with hourly positions. But remember that this point system was negotiated by the union. Complain about it all you want, but the point system isn't going anywhere.
I've had to cancel so many doctor appointments, dentist appointments that I could not make them because of the forced overtime. Walking out the plant last second, hey, you're forced over.
She couldn't arrange the time off with her manager in advance? I honestly find that very hard to believe. But whatever. Let's take another look at this forced overtime. In this tweet, More Perfect Union made the claim that they obtained timesheets confirming Frito-Lay's rampant abuse of mandatory overtime. Frito-Lay claimed that reports of forced overtime were grossly exaggerated. These timesheets prove them wrong. No, they don't. Because first of all, Frito-Lay never said that. As I previously showed, what Frito-Lay said were grossly exaggerated were the claims of 84-hour work weeks. They didn't say anything about forced overtime. And let's look at these smoking gun timesheets. On this one from December 2020, out of the 105 people working, only 34 of them had an F next to their name, indicating forced overtime. And on this timesheet from June 2020, of the 62 people scheduled, only 20 of them had an F next to their name. So on both days, only about a third of the workers were required to work overtime, which means that More Perfect Union's tweet doesn't hurt Frito-Lay. It just proves that the union's claims are grossly exaggerated. Great job, idiots.
This is a strike for our lives. We get no days off.
And thanks to More Perfect Union, we know that's a lie because on this spreadsheet, we see that 44 people are scheduled as out, which means that more people had a day off than the number of workers that received forced overtime.
No time with our families, and we get no good pay. We haven't had a raise in years.
Well, if you get no good pay and haven't had a raise in years and you feel like you have a terrible work-family life balance, then quit Frito-Lay and find another job in the area. Darren Hall has worked for Frito-Lay for 37 years and is a box operator. I am on strike because for the last 10 years, things have continued to get worse. Something has to be done about our deteriorating working conditions and wages. And notice that Darren is standing next to a sign that says, "Better raises at McDonald's." What he fails to realize, however, is that better raises are much different than better pay. But why don't you quit and work at McDonald's, Darren? I dare ya.
They are greedy.
The CEO is making millions, yet we are making nothing.
Man, if that isn't right out of the union playbook.
We are making nothing, getting cents in raises. This is not fair.
Wait, I thought you previously said you haven't gotten a raise in years. Now you're saying that you're getting cents in raises. Get your talking points straight, Esther. An article on labornotes.org gives an example of one worker claiming that he's only gotten a 77-cent increase over the last 12 years. But the article also states that the last several contracts have featured lump sum bonuses most years, leaving wage rates stagnant for most classifications. And of course, since labornotes.org is a pro-union website with an agenda, they won't talk about how much these bonuses are worth. But more importantly, they leave out the insignificant detail that the union negotiated the terms of the contract and the workers voted in favor of them. But it's Frito-Lay's fault. Got it. Now, one of the biggest issues regarding the factory employees are squeeze shifts. This is where you work an 8 to 12 hour shift and then have to be back at work 8 hours later to start your next shift.
We have to do something with the suicide shifts, because to work 12 hours and be off 8 and work 12 hours, you got time, travel time and everything. I said that's a safety risk.
And Frito-Lay agrees with this. In their press release, Frito-Lay claims that on July 1st, they proposed to cap required work at 60 hours per week and eliminate the so-called squeeze shifts. So what did the union do? They went on strike anyway. And then they complained about the squeeze shifts to anyone that would listen.
Company wants to call it a squeeze shift. It's nothing squeezing about it, it's suicide.
Love that this guy immediately looks off to the side smiling like, did I say it right? Anyway, after 19 days, union members approved a new contract, bringing the strike to an end. The new contract includes a 4% raise over 2 years, which the union proposed and Frito-Lay accepted before the strike. The contract also eliminates squeeze shifts, which Frito-Lay proposed before the strike. The only new thing that benefits workers in the contract is that they're guaranteed at least 1 day off each week, but only when certain conditions are met. And remember all the complaining about overtime? Well, according to Labor Notes, the union turned down Frito-Lay's offer of capping work weeks to 60 hours because some union members had expressed concerns that the cap would mean higher seniority workers would end up being forced to work on their weekends after lower seniority workers reached the 60-hour limit. And that means that the union threw their lower seniority workers under the bus to protect their higher seniority workers. So much for that union solidarity, huh? So what did the strike accomplish? Not much. While the workers are going to see a 4% increase in pay over the next 2 years, the ones who went on strike lost 3 weeks worth of pay, which they will never be able to make up. That money is gone forever. Yeah, aren't unions great? And with that, thanks for watching, sharing, and slamming that like button. Be sure that you're still subscribed to the channel, and as always, I hope to see you next time. If there is next time.